Hello, and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 15 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people as possible living with Parkinson's to lead a great quality of life. Now, today's topic is best foods for Parkinson's, evidence-based nutrition for symptom management. Now, this is a topic that's both powerful and often misunderstood. How we eat can directly impact Parkinson's symptoms, believe it or not. Now, let me be clear up front. I'm not talking about miracle cures or trendy fad diets. This is about using the power of food, real evidence-based nutrition, to support your brain, your gut, and your overall quality of life. Now, you probably heard the phrase, you need to eat healthy, 1,000 times. And like me, you may be thinking, great, but what does that mean? Do I have to give up everything I like to eat and just live on twigs and berries? Is that what healthy eating means? So, if you're living with Parkinson's, what does healthy eating really mean? How do food choices impact not only our energy and strength, but also our motor symptoms, our digestion, and even our mood? Well, today we're breaking the science down into simple terms and giving you practical, actionable strategies that you can start using today. But before we jump in, feet first, I have a quick disclaimer that the information I'm sharing is for educational purposes only. Always consult with your doctor or a registered dietitian before making any significant changes to your diet, because everyone's experience with Parkinson's is unique. All right, let's start with the foundation. Why does nutrition even matter in Parkinson's? Now, we know that Parkinson's isn't just a movement disorder. It affects so much more than tremors and stiffness. In fact, one way to look at it is the tremors, slowness of movement, and stiffness are really just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of non-motor symptoms that are underneath the surface. So, research shows us that Parkinson's impacts the gut as well, which brings us to something that scientists call the gut-brain axis. Now, in fact, you may have heard me discuss the gut-brain axis on some of my other podcast episodes. Now, don't let the term gut-brain axis throw you off. It simply means that your gut and your brain are in constant communication. The bacteria in your digestive system actually sends signals to your brain, and then your brain sends signals back. Kind of nice, isn't it? I guess the best way to describe it is to think of a two-way radio or a walkie-talkie. So, here's where it gets really interesting. Well, I guess if you're a little bit science nerdy like me, studies show that people with Parkinson's often have different gut bacteria than those without Parkinson's. See, told you it's if you're a science nerd like myself. See, we're special after all. These differences may not only influence our digestion, like constipation, which is one of the most common non-motor symptoms, but may also play a role in how the disease itself develops and progresses. For example, the study MIND diet, that's M-I-N-D, diet adherence associated with lower zonulin levels in older Parkinson's patients, that was published in the Journal of Geriatric Nursing in August of 2025. And what the study looked at was the effects of following a healthy diet, specifically the MIND diet, which is a blend of both the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diets. Now, to learn more about these diets, check out my podcast, Parkinson's Movement Relief. Can the Mediterranean diet be a game changer? Now, the researchers found that people with Parkinson's who followed this diet had lower levels of something called zonulin. Now, zonulin is a protein linked to what is often called leaky gut, where the intestinal barrier becomes permeable. That means things can move from inside to outside and outside to inside. So high levels of zonulin have been associated with inflammation and worsening of neurological symptoms. So the takeaway here is a powerful and healthy gut may not just help you feel better day to day, it might actually support your gut barrier and potentially, and that's the key word, slow disease progression. All right, so what does this mean in practical terms? So let's break this down and simplify it for all of us. So the first thing you should do is focus on whole foods, not on processed ones. Think fruits and veggies, legumes and beans, whole grains, nuts and seeds. Now this next one is key. Hydration matters because we can very easily become dehydrated when we have Parkinson's. So staying well hydrated not only supports digestion and energy, it can even help you with constipation. And then pay attention to timing, especially around medications. Now, many of you already know that levodopa, which is one of the most common Parkinson's medications, can be less effective if you take it with a heavy protein meal. That's because protein competes with levodopa for absorption in your gut. So if you're going to eat a lot of protein, either take your medication at least 30 minutes before or wait at least an hour after you're done eating. So it's not really about restricting protein. It's more about being strategic with the timing of your medication. Because both your nutrition and your medication need to work together, not against each other. All right, now that we understand the why behind nutrition, let's take a look at the what. What should we be putting on our plates and on our shopping list to best support our bodies? Well, let's start with the first and probably the most important category, which is the power of plants. Yes, I did say plants. Now, when we think of brain health, we often think of plants because they're loaded with a key component, antioxidants. So, if we think of oxidative stress like rust on a car, it's damage that happens at a cellular level. Antioxidants are the rust proofing. They help protect our cells and fight off that damage so that we don't get that rust. Now, clinical research supports this. A review published in the journal Nutrients highlights the neuroprotective role of natural antioxidants. So these are compounds like polyphenols and flavonoids, which are found in a variety of plant foods and may, and that's the key word here, slow down the progression of neurodegenerative diseases. So, what exactly does this look like on your plate, you ask? Well, think about a cornucopia of colors. You have reds, blues, purple, green, orange. So dive into some berries like blueberries and strawberries, dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, even throw in a little dark chocolate and some green tea. Now, all these can give you a boost of these powerful compounds, the antioxidants, if you will. Now, another important reason to focus on plants is fiber. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the most common non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's is constipation, and fiber is there to help us out. Think of it as your little friend traveling through your GI tract. Fiber adds bulk to our stool, helping it move smoothly through our digestive system. Now, it also serves as good food for the good bacteria in your gut. Now, there was a review in the Canadian Journal of Dietetic Practice and Research, and it points out that up to 80% of people with Parkinson's experience constipation. And now, while we need more research on the specific effects of different types of fiber, it's clear that increasing fiber intake is a primary recommendation for helping you manage constipation. Now, some great sources of fiber, you may ask, include legumes like beans and lentils, whole grains, fruits with edible skins like apples, and most vegetables. All right, after plants, we need to talk about healthy fats. Now, believe it or not, your brain is a fatty organ, and it needs the right kind of fuel to keep it operating on all cylinders. Healthy fats, particularly omega-3 fatty acids, are incredibly important for brain health and have anti-inflammatory properties. Now, that's a big deal. Why, you ask? Because inflammation is often part of the disease process. So, where can you find these healthy fats? Well, good sources can be found in foods like fatty fish. Think of salmon and mackerel. You can also find it in walnuts, chia seeds, and even extra virgin olive oil. Now, our friend recently traveled to Italy and brought us back 2 bottles of EVOO, as Rachel Ray would say, which is extra virgin olive oil. It's great on salads, on meats, and if you want to dip some bread in there, it tastes great too. All right, now we've discussed some general categories of nutrients, including antioxidants, fiber, and healthy fats, and good sources of how to get them. But now let's look at some specific foods that you can add to your grocery list that are evidence-based, heavy hitters, if you will, to help you on your Parkinson's journey. And let's start with my personal favorite, berries. I love all kinds of berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, and I can eat these anytime. Now, we talked about berries when we discussed antioxidants, but they are more important to include just for antioxidants because berries are also rich in flavonoids, which have been linked to slower cognitive decline. Now, a 2012 study published in the Annals of Neurology found that higher intake of flavonoids especially from berries, was associated with a reduced risk of Parkinson's in men. So yes, that frozen bag of blueberries in your freezer, it's not to be used just as a smoothie ingredient. It's your brain fuel. All right, next up is cruciferous vegetables. Think of broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. These veggies are rich in glucosinolates, which may help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, two major players in Parkinson's progression. There was a 2021 review in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience that highlighted how sulforaphane, a compound found in broccoli sprouts, may protect dopaminergic neurons and improve mitochondrial function. Now, remember, the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, and they help the cell, or they create the energy for the cell. So, the translation, these greens are doing some serious behind-the-scenes neuroprotection. All right, moving on to eggs. Yes, eggs. They're a great source of choline, which supports neurotransmitter function. Choline, in fact, is a precursor to acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter involved in memory and muscle control. And there was a 2019 study in Nutrients that emphasized the role of choline in cognitive health and neuroplasticity. Now, remember, neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to rewire itself or make new neural connections. So if you've been avoiding eggs, now might be the time to bring them back. Don't be bashful. You can poach them, you can scramble them, you can fry them, hard boil them, however you like. Eggs are just a great food choice. All right, next up is mushrooms, especially shiitake and maritake. These fungi are rich in ergothioneine, a unique antioxidant that may have neuroprotective effects. There was a 2020 study in Free Radical Biology and Medicine. Yeah, I sit around and read that all the time. No, actually, just kidding. Suggested that ergothioneine could help reduce neuroinflammation and oxidative damage. Plus, mushrooms are versatile. You can toss them in stir fries, soups, or even your morning omelet. Don't be shy now. Go ahead, give them a try. I was never a big mushroom fan, but as I've gotten older, I've actually started to like mushrooms. All right. Now, I know we've discussed healthy fats and omega-3 fatty acids, but omega-3 deserves a second spotlight. So, add fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines to your grocery list. There was a 2018 randomized controlled trial published in Clinical Nutrition, and it found that omega-3 supplementation improved motor symptoms and reduced inflammation in people with Parkinson's. So, if you're not a fan of fish, consider a high-quality fish oil supplement. But remember, always check with your healthcare provider first before adding any supplements to your daily regimen. All right, moving on to green tea. Now, this one's a little bit of a sleeper hit. Green tea contains catechins and L-theanine, which may support cognitive function and reduce neurodegeneration. A 2021 meta-analysis in Nutrients found that regular green tea consumption was associated with better cognitive performance and reduced risk of neurodegenerative disease. Plus, drinking some green tea is a nice calming ritual that we can all use to help us slow down and enjoy the moment. Am I right? Now, since it has some cognitive benefits, maybe I better start drinking about 2 or 3 gallons a day. Just kidding. Now, the next addition to your grocery list should be whole grains, especially oats and quinoa. Beyond fiber, whole grains contain B vitamins like B6 and folate, which is B9, and they're crucial for brain health and neurotransmitter synthesis. There was a 2020 study in the journal Neural Transmission, which linked vitamin B deficiencies to worsened motor symptoms in Parkinson's. So, yes, indeed, that nice warm bowl of oatmeal in the morning, topped with some berries and walnuts or pecans, it's doing more than keeping you full. It's also helping your brain. All right, next up on the list is legumes like lentils, chickpeas, and black beans. They're protein-rich, packed with fiber, and full of magnesium. And that's a mineral that plays a role in muscle function and nerve signaling. Now, if you want to learn more about magnesium, check out my podcast with Dr. Carolyn Dean, a magnesium expert. The podcast title is Magnesium Deficiency and brain and body health, how this essential mineral protects your body and your mind. Now, in terms of legumes, there was a 2019 study in neuropharmacology, and that what it found was that magnesium may help modulate dopamine receptors and reduce neuroinflammation. Plus, the nice thing is legumes are a budget friendly and endlessly adaptable. You can use them in soups, salads. In fact, you can make a nice bean salad with all the different kinds of beans. And the same with lentils. All right, so there you have it, your expanded evidence-based shopping list. So from berries to broccoli, mushrooms to magnesium-rich legumes, these foods just aren't good for you. They're backed by science to support your Parkinson's journey. Now remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about small, sustainable changes that add up over time. So next time you're at the store, maybe toss in a bag of frozen blueberries or a bunch of broccoli. Your gut and your brain will surely thank you for it. All right. So far, we've built a powerful grocery list full of antioxidant-rich, fiber-packed, and brain-loving foods. Now, let's zoom out and look at the big picture, because it's not just about what's on your plate, but how it all comes together over time. And let's look at some specific diets. These are diets and routines can help shape your long-term health. Now, when it comes to Parkinson's, several diets have emerged as promising allies in symptom management and neuroprotection. First up, and leading us off, is the Mediterranean diet. Now, this is one of the classics, and for good reason, because it's rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, legumes, nuts, olive oil, and then it also includes moderate amounts of fish and poultry. Now, there was a 2018 study published in Movement Disorders, and it found that adherence to the Mediterranean diet was associated with later onset Parkinson's symptoms and slower progression. The researchers noted that the diet's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties may help protect dopaminergic neurons. Plus, as an added bonus, the foods are delicious. Think grilled salmon and quinoa and roasted veggies drizzled with olive oil. That's not just dinner, that's medicine for the brain right there. Next up is the MIND diet. Now, this one is a hybrid of the Mediterranean and DASH diets, designed specifically to support brain health. Now, what does MIND stand for? MIND stands for Mediterranean Dash Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. Now, the MIND diet emphasizes leafy greens, berries, nuts, whole grains, olive oil, fish, while at the same time limiting red meat, butter, cheeses, and sweets. That's kind of a bummer because honestly, I like all those. Well, I guess it is in the name of brain health, which I definitely need, so I'll follow along. A 2021 study in NPJ Parkinson's disease found that higher adherence to the MIND diet was associated with a reduced risk of Parkinson's and better motor function. Now, what's exciting is that even moderate adherence showed benefit. So you don't have to be perfect to see progress. All right, so what are a few example meals on the MIND diet? How about trying these on for size? The first I want to share is the Mediterranean Power Bowl. The base is 1 cup of cooked quinoa or farro, which is a whole grain. Greens, you throw in a handful of baby spinach and arugula or rocket. And toppings could include a half a cup of roasted chickpeas. You could throw in a quarter of an avocado sliced, half a cup of cherry tomatoes, a quarter cup of shredded carrots, and 3 ounces of grilled salmon for your omega-3s. And then dressing, olive oil, lemon juice, and a pinch of turmeric. Garnish with a sprinkle of chopped walnuts or almonds. Doesn't that sound delicious? Now, here's why it works. The meal is anti-inflammatory, it's rich in fiber, and it's packed with healthy fats. And the salmon supports cognitive function, and the greens and nuts are MIND diet staples. Now, meal number 2, brain-boosting breakfast scramble. That's a tongue twister. Now, a great tasting start to the day is a low in saturated fat and full of mind-friendly ingredients. It's 2 eggs or 1 egg and 2 egg whites, half a cup of kale or spinach, a quarter cup of diced bell peppers, 2 tablespoons of crumbled feta cheese. Optional, if you have problems with cheese or dairy, you can skip that. And then 1 slice of whole grain toast and a cup of blueberries on the side. All right, so here's why this one works. The leafy greens and berries are 2 of the most emphasized food groups in the MIND diet. Eggs are going to give us the choline, which we talked about, which supports brain health. And then the whole grains help regulate our blood sugar, which are important for energy and our mood stability. All right, moving on to the DASH diet. Now, the DASH was originally developed to help lower blood pressure, and its focuses on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and then low-fat dairy, while cutting back on sodium or salt and processed foods. There was a 2022 study in nutritional neuroscience and found that the DASH diet may help reduce neuroinflammation and improve cognitive function in people with Parkinson's. And it's especially helpful if you're managing multiple conditions like hypertension or cardiovascular risk alongside your Parkinson's. Now, the nice thing about it, it's flexible and you can adapt it to your preferences. Now, I'll leave links to all the books I read and recommend in the podcast description on the MIND, the Mediterranean, and the DASH diets. Now, let's talk about the ketogenic diet. Now, this one's a little bit more controversial, but worth discussing. The ketogenic diet, or keto, is high in fat, very low in carbohydrates, and moderate in protein. It shifts the body into a state of what they call ketosis, where it burns fat for fuel instead of glucose. There was a 2021 pilot study in Frontiers in Neuroscience, and it found that the ketogenic diet improved motor symptoms and energy metabolism in people with Parkinson's. So the theory behind it is that ketones, which are a byproduct of the ketogenic diet, may provide an alternative fuel source for struggling neurons to reduce oxidative stress. But, and this is a big but, this diet is highly restrictive and not suitable for everyone. It can lead to nutrient deficiencies, some digestive issues, and may interact with medications. So if you're considering keto, please talk to your healthcare provider first. It's not one of those do-it-yourself experiments. So what's the takeaway? Each of these diets, the Mediterranean, the MIND, and the DASH, and even the ketogenic diet, offers unique benefits. But the common thread is whole, nutrient-dense foods that reduce inflammation, support brain health, and they're going to nourish our body over time. Now, you don't have to follow any of these perfectly. You can borrow elements from each and maybe start with the Mediterranean base, sprinkle in the MIND's brain-boosting berries, and keep DASH's sodium guidelines in mind. So the goal isn't you have to be rigid. It's about sustainability and consistency. And remember, food isn't just food. It's a connection with others, with other cultures, and it's a chance to sit down, socialize, and interact with others. So build a pattern that feels good, tastes good, and also supports your journey with Parkinson's. All right, we've covered a lot today, from the power of the gut-brain axis to the specific foods that can make a real difference in managing your Parkinson's symptoms. Now, remember, nutrition isn't a magic pill or a shot, which are popular these days. It's about daily commitment to your well-being. It's a powerful tool that you can use to support your body and your mind. Now, I want to make sure that you have all the resources you need to put this knowledge into practice. First, head over to liveparkinsons.com. This is your home for everything that I do. You can subscribe to my free monthly newsletter, which is packed with exclusive tips and insights, as well as upcoming webinars and podcasts. And it's where I share the latest on clinical research and medications. You'll also find a wealth of some free resources and articles, including my popular 9 balance exercises to improve balance and the Parkinson's medication and symptom tracker. It helps you track your medications and symptoms that you can share with your doctor. Now, if you feel this program is adding value to your life and you want to help me reach more people with Parkinson's, please consider supporting the show. You can visit my Ko-fi page at kofi.com/liveparkinsons. Your support helps me to continue to create content and build this community. And finally, to learn more about my personal journey and the 4 strategies that I've used to live an exceptional life with Parkinson's, I invite you to get a copy of my book, Spectacular Life: 4 Strategies for Living with Parkinson's, and it's available on Amazon. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, your journey is your own, and every step you take is going to help you live an exceptional life. Stay healthy, stay strong, and live your best life with Parkinson's. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you all soon.